Okay, welcome to our presentation on user interface and design for games. We're discussing different aspects of user interface design. I think we already have 10 or 11 videos on these topics, different aspects of user interface design. So this will be about input devices in terms of user interface. I think there are maybe when you include support different types of input devices, maybe you can think about what are available and what are the advantages, disadvantages, limitations of different types of input devices, and also which input device goes with the gameplay for your game. And maybe it can also include the type of audience you are trying to address. Do they need or prefer any special type of input device or not? Okay, so in market there are input devices just like three-dimensional input devices, accelerometers and GPS. I think accelerometers, I think the behavior you can think about the car accelerators. I think you can it will set the rate of speed and maybe set some directions kind of stuff. Yeah, if your game needs such kind of acceleration for something, you can try to use this device. Maybe some car racing games will get help from it. And GPS, most mobile phones they are equipped now with GPS. Maybe some game controllers they can also be equipped with GPS, and some games may be able to utilize the absolute position of the device, that it can cell phone or some other device, and use those movement of the GPS device to create some actions in the game, if it makes sense. Maybe for some of the Wii games, Nintendo Wii games, GPS based control may make sense. Now there are two-dimensional input devices. I think it's the directional pads, joysticks, mouse, touch sensitive devices. Two-dimensional devices, they actually send two values at one point to the computer. Three-dimensionals, they will be sending three values, I think x, y and z, three coordinate. But two-dimensional, they will be sending x coordinate and y coordinate of a uh, particular action thing. When you click the mouse button, it will send the x coordinate and y coordinate of that particular point. Now what are directional pads? You can see directional pads, there are up, down and left, right. So there will be 8 different combinations of moves. So using this device you can make 8 different moves, different directions moves. But if you need more than that, or if you need finer direction supports, then you should not use directional pad. But sometimes the software, old software are still coming up with d-pads, because many games are popular, they are releasing those games, and at that time d-pads were the most common game input device. Okay, so another option is the joystick. I think it's some rounded and attached to one point. Sometimes game controllers come with multiple joysticks, and what joysticks does is, I think you can move it in any direction. It will be sending some coordinates for that particular position the joystick is now. You have to keep remember that when you release the joystick button, so it will come to a neutral position. So if your game needs some sort of control, that if it is moves, the avatar object or the other objects will move, but if it is a neutral position, then the game will come to its normal state, or the particular avatar will come to its neutral position. So the joystick can be that type of stuff. Maybe let's say in fighting games, yeah, when it moves, the player can move, the avatar can gives different actions. But when you release it, maybe it should come to its neutral standing position or neutral sitting position, what was there. The advantage of joysticks is, I think it's not like directional pads. It's not limited to only 8 directions. You can move the stuff in any direction. It's a more finer directional control you will find with joysticks. But joysticks are not good for positioning and controlling. Many of the role-playing games or multiple role-playing games, they need some sort of pointing and clicking those kind of stuff. I think for that purpose joysticks is not a good option. Then mouse I think it's good for pointing and clicking, and it also sends two-dimensional data, and it always sends the relative data from its previous position. I think designers usually find mice are more flexible input device than joysticks, but mouse's lack of a neutral position makes it weak as a steering mechanism for vehicles that need a default behavior. And also the important point is mouse also contains a knob with unlimited movement that can also be used as a controller, and maybe you can use it to the directional and continuous directional moves using that button. And touch sensitive devices, I think devices like PDS, Nintendo DS machine, Apple iPhone, they offer touch sensitive screen. Sometimes laptop, personal computers, they can also come with touchpad below the keyboard. So these devices will return absolute X and Y position to indicate where they are touched, just like the mouse cursor dice. And another thing is, with the touch sensitive device, the control usually comes to its neutral place when the player stops touching the touchpad. So it's the difference between mouse and touch sensitive device. And in earlier devices you could just touch one point in the past, but iPhone, it allows I think concurrently you can touch multiple, I think 2 places at one time. Now one-dimensional input devices, what are these? They will send one signal to the computer or to the console games, whatever you say. So it's either on or off. It is sending 1 or it is sending 0. Common controllers and keys and binary values. I think it's also about one-dimensional input device, but binary values, that's okay. So there can have different types of one-dimensional input device like knobs, volumes, sliders, pressure-sensitive buttons. Okay, how can you use one-dimensional input device in our games? To support one-shot actions, you press the key and there is the action. You release the key, there is no action, it stops. Shooting, yeah, that can happen. Repeating actions, as long as you are pressing the key, it is always sending 1, and the action will repeat, like just kicking someone or hitting someone. You are pressing it and there are continuously repeating actions, repeating hitting. What about continuous actions? I think it just sets a continuous actions. The same thing will go, it's not repeated repeatedly. Okay, for example, I think in the golf, if you press one key, it can I think initiate the back swing, but when you release it, the ball really starts swing and keeps into the same direction. I think this on and off, it is setting some sort of continuous actions. And knobs, just like volume control for radios or car MP3, that kind of stuff, analog volume control. Some devices come with those. If appropriate, you can use this maybe to control the sound. Yeah, if there are some devices like that. And a slider, maybe in some, you know it, I think there will be one button progressing, there is a bar moving along. Yeah, this can also be this type of device. Yeah, maybe to handle the movement of the devices like the aircraft or aeroplane, you can move it to a particular position and the object will sit there, something like that. Or and pressure sensitive buttons, I think maybe you can send how hard the buttons are pressed, the value, and based on that you can define some sort of action for sure. Okay, so I'll be moving to navigational.